The only time you need to evac that is if there was a rud, and those tend to happen faster than you can evac Kerbals. Yeah, Jason, so maybe... I don't know, man. What's the issue, Chad? I tuned out. Bagel, we're discussing the plan of attack for finishing the SSTO program. It's not really that big of a challenge. It's a challenge, but it's not, it's not like any drama or anything. I'm just trying to think about what would be the best way. You know, I spent so much time developing that small one. We might as well use it. You know what I mean? I didn't design it as a suborbital demonstrator like the X-33. I designed that thing to do work. You know? The intention from the start was always to make my X-33 orbital and have a small and a large SSTO. A small one for crew, big one for cargo. So basically an Ares 1 and Ares 5 in SSTO form. Not with Ares 1 and Ares 5's payload capacity, but you get the idea. You sound like my boss is at work right now. I'll take that one as a compliment, Mac. Yeah, Spacey, it still does need to earn its keep. You're not wrong. But we're pushing, we're almost there. We're almost done. So, another thing that I was just thinking is that if I make the smaller pad out of Mark III parts, Mark III fuselages to make the deck of that and make my own ramp, I said a little while ago that would actually end up probably being less parts. If I could get the small SSTO, if I could get its launch pad down to like 200 parts, right? And then get the crane down to 200 parts, right? That would be 500 parts plus 380 for the SSTO, and say we have payload on there. So let's say 1,500 parts, right? Or no. We have payload on there, so 382 for the SSTO, and then plus 20, I guess, for the payload. Let's just figure in 400. So 200 is 400 is 800. 800 for the entire thing, for the hangar, for the pad, and the SSTO. If they're all separate vehicles, that's not going to bug down the system too much. I might just be able to have the small SSTO and the large SSTO launch complexes right next to each other. Might be able to just do that. In fact, I think we should. That's probably not a bad idea. We should probably do that way. So yeah, I mean, 1,000 parts passing. I've had 1,000 parts in the scene before. Many times when we launched the Freedom rocket with all the trucks, the fuel trucks sitting out and all the first stage trucks sitting out. Yeah, I've had 1,000 parts in scene with the crew access tower. Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So we could do that. Dude, actually, I kind of... It's not a bad idea. But how big is that... How big is the big SSTO's launch complex going to be? You know? It's going to be pretty large. I think the best move would be one pad and structure for both. You could save time by having them hang off the pad. My thinking was more of a convenience, like calling space Uber in evac capacity. Capsule costs pennies, relatively speaking. It was just, yeah, Caveman, I hear you. Oh, jeez, Mac. That's ridiculous. Yeah, guys, I might be able to just operate a twin pad complex. That's not a big deal. I've done it with Freedom and Irahara in the past, so yeah, it's doable. I tell you what, here's what I'm probably going to do. I'm probably going to redo the K-33's pad tomorrow and see how much I can reduce the part count on that pad. I could probably reduce it a lot. And if I can reduce it a lot, then if I can get that pad down to 200 and the gantry crane for it, the crane and the hanger for it down to 200, then I can make it its own contained pad. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I can make it its own contained pad with its own ramp and everything, right? And if we do that, worst case scenario, if I try to make the big pad and the small pad next to each other and they lag out, worst case scenario, I can move the smaller pad somewhere else and we could fit ISRU to it. We won't have to worry about part count or anything. We could fit ISRU to it and it could just keep refining fuel over and over and over and over and over again. So we wouldn't have to send fuel trucks out to the smaller launch complex. Big one, on the other hand, would need fuel trucks because it's a much bigger SSTO and we're going to launch in high frequency, right? So, yeah, I'll try to operate a twin pad complex, but I'll make the smaller SSTO's pad able to be moved somewhere else if I need to. So if we can't, if the performance just becomes too much of a pain in the butt, then I can just move it somewhere else. That's what I'm going to do. We could move it to the desert, for instance, if we really wanted to. I could build a pad out there if we want to buy the dang desert. Or Wookiee, I don't think I would want to. If we could put it out at the island runway and launch from there. It's all of it's doable. Heck, I could make a floating version at the Cove if I had could figure out a way to land the thing out there. We could make a floating version at the Cove site. I like the idea of using the desert for small hired. I think that's a really cool idea. Delta V requirements I'm a little worried about. And I would have to have ISRU. And we'd have to buy the desert. So that's mission mode rules are not meant to be easy. I'm not buying another space center. We don't have enough. It would be much better to operate just 2 pads at KSC. That would be more economical, and that would leave me more room for testing, so we can actually have some kind of budget for the big SSTO. I think that's what I'm doing. I figured it out, and I figured it out right when it was time for racing. That's what I want to do, guys. Tomorrow, I have a set thing that I want to get done. I'm going to redo the K33's pad to design it to make it not have to hang off the side of the launch pad. I'm going to redo that. We're going to redo it, and we're going to get it done. I'm going to rebuild it out of Mark III fuselages and have a Mark III fuselage plate. And, and then I'll build out the gantry crane and the hangar and everything for it tomorrow. I have a pretty good idea of it now. I just figured it out when the day was finished, because obviously, right? What is SSTO? Single stage to orbit tech. Basically something where you hit spacebar off the pad and it gets into space. Would making one really big one that can adjust the clamps for the X33 be too complex or drift? Yeah, Bagel, that's what I'm worried about. Making a pad that can accept both of them could be prohibitively hard to do. Yeah. We should see what we need for the big pad before we can decide if the pad makes sense for the two. Well, RJ, presumably the bigger pad would just be a scaled up version of the smaller pad. Should be fine. The pad might have a little bit of trouble scaling, which is why I want to leave the main pad for the bigger SSTO. All right, cool. I think we're in business here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to redo the small SSTO's launch pad and get rid of all the problems that we were having with it, like having to manually strut the pad and whatnot. I'm going to get rid of all that. And I'll redo it to be a self-contained thing and not have to rely on the launch complex. That's the right move. That's the right move. All right, that's what we're working on in mission mode tomorrow. So that will be happening around 6 p.m. tomorrow. We are going to get that launch pad figured out and completely integrated, and I'll build it around auto struts, guys. And if I get the pad built out enough, if we can get the pad built out enough, we'll go for a launch attempt. We'll go for a mission tomorrow, orbital test flight, because I should have the payload. We talked through it here. We just took an hour and a half and talked through the entire thing. most of it is going to be reusing parts that I already have. And the crane and the hangar integration building are going to be reusing Freedom's crane. It's going to be the same thing. So, yeah, we should be good. Wii Sports, 2-month resub. Thank you. So, yeah, that's for Kerbal tomorrow, guys. I'm going to play some Assetto Corsa now. Actually, I'm happy we talked that out. It made it feel like this day was at least semi-productive. Yeah, well, I'm working on ways to be able to eliminate hydraulic drift. Not eliminate it, but mitigate it enough so if I move the pad far away, I won't have to recover it all the time. I mean, Kerbal Construction is a good start with that. But yeah, all right, so that's going to do it for the Kerbal meta. Sorry about being unproductive today, guys. I'm not too happy about it. But is my steering wheel still... Okay, the steering wheel is plugged in.